good night, and welcome to the conversation. I'm your co-host, Alistair Sampson, and with us tonight we have Christopher Crossley, aka Mr. Crossley, so aka the gentleman, and of course we have Micaiah Wilson, aka Mr. Fit, aka Mike the Monster Trainer. What going on, fellas? What going on?
Just cool.
All right. Good night. How you all making all with this wonderful rainy weather today, right?
I was in London.
London?
Rainy day.
Sipping on his tea.
I didn't complain at all. Stayed inside.
Stayed inside, not complaining.
Had me a cup of tea.
Wait.
It's nice. This my kind of weather. Keep the place cool. I mean, because we get the heat spells. But yeah, I'm able to open my door, let the fresh air come through the house. I like rain, so I feel it for those areas that flood as always.
Yes.
But I love rain. Give me rain, overcast any day over the hot sun where I just sweating ridiculously for no reason.
Okay.
Give me rain.
What about you, Mike?
Today was good, man. Can't complain. The rainy weather was it caused a bit of traffic on the road, yes. But besides that, can't complain.
Alright, cool.
Can't complain at all.
Are you still doing training, Mike, with folks, or strictly online?
Strictly online. I had someone see me today. So I just was out for a little bit.
Okay.
But we also do a lot of our recordings for pre-recorded workouts at the studio as well. So there's a bit of a I had to go down there and do some stuff, but we don't do anything face to face right now.
All right, good, wonderful. Because that is always a concern right now.
Yeah.
So as we jump into the usual COVID checking time, it has been a week. I know I wasn't here last week, but how has it been for the last week for you guys?
In spite of the coldness, at least on this side, the heat on. In terms of some particular areas that I'm in the middle of in terms of working, we winding down from a particular that is on the job element. The next side winding down from a training time that we had Saturday gone. Shout out to Chris in terms of helping us out with that. We have another cycle that we're supposed to be reading.
Right.
Yeah, we have a next cycle. We're supposed to be starting up with that one as well. But things kind of looking up is a different way, and it really ties into the conversation today with respect to what is the new norm. Definitely, I know we'll get a chance to talk about that as we go along. Where you, Mike? Yeah. COVID check-in, right? What's it you?
To be honest, it's been an interesting week. Number one, I had my birthday last week, end of the week, so
yeah. 34.
Another COVID birthday. another COVID birthday, but just really thankful that I'm still alive, still in good health. It helped to put some stuff into perspective to just to kind of reflect on these last 2 years. Well, I said 2 years, but the last 2020, 2021 now.
Right.
Within this COVID era that we're in, and it was a nice time to kind of reflect and take stock of the good stuff, take stock of the challenges, and just kind of see how good it's really been.
Right.
Notwithstanding the difficult times that we're in as well. So not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's where it had to be right now. And if it is, we're looking at how things has been progressing. I can see, change is inevitable, whether it was the pandemic or not. Right. So, for me, I would say last week was a mentally challenging week, where there's just sometimes you just really don't want to be around, for lack of a better term. And I think that is something that a lot of us deal with. However, it's good to recognize when you are in that mode, so you can actually do your self-inspection, see what is actually causing it, and deal with it appropriately. And I think that's a good way to start off looking at what would be the new normal. And just to preface it, right? What the new normal is considered, right? It is considered a state in which the economy, society, etc., settles following a crisis, right? When it differs from the situation that prevailed prior to the start of the crisis, right? People have been using this term over the years in relation to World War One, the financial crash in 2008, the September 11 attacks, the more or less global recession between 2008 to 2012, and of course now during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the thing with the pandemic is that after every pandemic there's what is called a pandemic boom, right? But in terms of the new normal, we're looking at the changes in human behavior during and after, right? So if we're looking at specifically human behavior, let's talk about during first. If we're talking about human behavior during the new normal, what would you say it is?
Human behavior during the new normal.
Because in the beginning, when COVID was now fresh on the scene, I saw people lose that sense of being humane with each other. I saw people, scorning each other. Some people literally blatantly cursing each other out in maxis, yelling at people to stop talking, and a lot of different things I saw happening. And I realized it was people operating from a place of fear, of course, and lack of understanding, as into what was happening at the time. So for me, I saw if that was to become the trend or the new normal, then we would actually be, to me, going backwards to a very more primal, primitive type of society where we clashing with everybody. So what would you guys say would be the new normal during this pandemic?
I think one of the things that I've seen, now in the beginning, as you rightfully said, I realized that because of the lack of knowledge, a lot of people went on a different level with respect to how you treat people, or I should say, people just found that opportunity to unleash during that time because of fear. Now, or what started to happen, people are a lot more cautious with respect to how they conduct themselves. We are a lot more cautious in terms of how we conduct ourselves outside, especially in like the groceries and these places now. You find that a number of groceries, they don't mix matters at all. You decide to go and walk in with a mask, without your mask, or a mask by a chin or something by a neck here instead of over your face, they will run here. Yeah, they're running it out like that now. I think right now you find that you have some institutions that are being more alert with respect to how we're supposed to carry about ourselves, and I don't even think that is going to be letting up anytime soon in terms of that type of behavior, in terms of how people function in these existing institutions that we have right now. I don't think that is going to change anytime soon at all. I think that, to me, I think from my opinion, I think this is something that is going to be carried on for quite a while, because I think people are still going to be fearful that even if it is that people get vaccinated, people think the COVID air is still out there, and if any slip up, especially when they start hearing like the virus evolving and mutating, that people start still thinking like that. So I believe that it's still going to have some persons, well, a lot of institutions going to still have that heightened alertness during this particular time. At least that is the gist that I get from it thus far.
Yeah.
That is definitely evident. Like, we support how you see even right now without people being fully back out to work and that kind of thing, how you see people moving on a daily basis in vehicles and traffic and in the gas station, interpersonal interactions are definitely changing, and some for the better, some for the worse. I say some for the better in the sense that people are being a bit more mindful of personal space and that kind of thing. Right? I was never one who was too keen on people being right upon them when I'm in a line.
Yeah.
So, that definitely helps. However, it does create another issue where people are very disconnected in some ways as well. You know? So there are a couple big changes that I see coming in terms of how we interact with each other, whether it be on the workplace, whether it be in the grocery, supermarket, gas station, gyms, you know. There's a lot of different things that are going to change in how we interact with each other.
Right. Okay, now, I mean, there will always be the good and bad things that come out of this. There will always be the people that stay in a place of, I don't want to just say fear, a place of concern, which is fine. All right, I'm glad that a lot of people actually now take up hygiene compared to how they were before. Right, that's a good thing. And I think a lot of people as well now became aware of areas where they lacked, and they now needed to start to work on themselves. A lot of people may have actually heightened their fear because of that. They realize, oh my gosh, these are things that are happening now that I never dealt with before, that I now have to deal with. So how did I do this? You know, and then with limited resources, who probably, you know, either lost their job or income decreased, these type of things that pile up on top of it. So you find that during the pandemic, the new normal for some people, even though I like to say the word new normal, the term new normal, the new normal for some people has actually become a struggle.
Yeah.
True.
And nobody wants their new normal to be a struggle. Right? So what can we say would be ways to basically help alleviate the feeling of being in a struggle during this quote-unquote new normal? Because we're still looking at restrictions, we're still looking at people still getting vaccinated, we're still looking at people who plugged into the news and considered, you know, who looking at the deaths more than people who are actually living, as always. You know, we're looking at other countries that are freeing up while we're here and still under lockdown.
Yeah.
And the frustrations that add to that, you know, while being here. So, you know, what can you see as some ways that people could try to help alleviate the feeling or the negative feeling they have or getting during this quote-unquote new normal?
I think one of the things that we need to be able to do as a society, and unfortunately we have learned the art of not being able to talk about exactly how we feel, especially men, especially those who are breadwinners of their home and seeing these changes happening and want things to go back to the way it is and see it as a struggle to make that change. A lot of times people just keep these things to themselves and not voicing it, and that is one element of it in terms of being able to open up and really talk about it. The second part of it in terms of the next level is who you're talking it with, because I think a lot of times now the company that they keep in terms of who you're talking it with, if you know, misery love company, and you find that you'll be talking with people who would not be really adding anything to push anything forward. It's just you know, somebody saying you stand up in the rain getting wet, somebody else come by you, they in the rain getting wet, and two others just stand there, hey, we getting wet. Unless somebody say, hey, let's go and shelter somewhere, let us not get wet. You know, but two people stand and say, oh my gosh, let's wait for the sun to come up if it keeps on raining. You know, so it's really along being able to vocalize how you're feeling and really be specific about it, and also to really be, it may be a hard way of saying it, but to start connecting with people, whether it's online or whatever the case may be, connecting people who will help, at least that you could add value to each other, or at least can help add value to you, in terms of saying, okay, let's go this particular road first and everything like that. Is it easy? No. I am not going to sit down here and say, yeah, just talk with somebody and all your worries will go away.
Right.
But keeping it to yourself is not healthy, and talking all the time with people who are in the same boat as you and just continue to just oppress each other, that is also not healthy. So it's a mixed bag in terms of trying to come out of from where and it's not easy, but you have to make that first step, right? That first set of steps to try to come out from that mental state, and it really starts here, definitely.
All right.
Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. I think it's you know, it's like I was just saying, we can't tell people to just change how you think or whatever. That doesn't always work. But I think as well that number one, if you would have been listening to the mantra and the conversation throughout the COVID period, you should be in a better place already. That's number one.
Indeed.
Click.
Right. Number two, I think making what I call a reaction list or an effect list. What I would have done was I would have listed all the ways in which this COVID situation would have impacted me personally, business wise, directly and whatnot, and indirectly as well. So, for example, the closing of most jobs and even the gym or whatever would have impacted my business. The financial issue where people are being laid off, that indirectly affects my business as well. So I would have made an impact list to see exactly what impact COVID would actually have on me. Because I think a lot of people, fear comes from the unknown thoughts, the thoughts about the unknown. We can't exactly put our hands on, we're not exactly sure what the outcome might be. Those are the things that normally make us panic the most, right? So to relieve that uncertainty, what I would have done was make that list to kind of get myself in a place where I know what's in front of me and I know what I'm going to have to deal with. I think that helps to put things in perspective, to let you know if you're at a level 1 of, things not too bad, we can manage this. Or level 10 where they say, okay, I need to find something to shift and do this and do that to correct how this may be going and that kind of thing. I think if we ignore the fact that things are going to affect us in this COVID period, and we just let it just fall where they fall, I think it could leave us in a position where when something bad happens, we're scampering, we have no safety net, we have nothing put in place. So my number one tip and advice would be to make an impact list, right? See exactly how COVID will impact you, your family, your next steps. For example, if you have kids that are supposed to be getting to school now, you should be in a place where you already know, okay, what my options are. Don't wait until they hit and think to yourself, I'm waiting to see what the government does to then act. We a lot of times wait and depend on others to set our path for us. If you don't have a plan, somebody else will plan your life here, right? And it's just as correct even now, where if we don't put those things into place now, into the thought process, right? So I'm not sure about you guys, but if I have a plan for something, even if things don't go exactly how I planned it, it's easier for me to manage the changes to my plan than not having a plan at all and having to figure out everything as it comes.
As it comes. Correct.
So that's my number one advice, to have an impact list and see exactly, as much as you could, how you'll be impacted and what you could do to assist yourself.
Correct. And I like the thought of an impact list because it does one main thing as well. You have no choice but to face it.
Yeah.
This is where you have to actually be honest with yourself that, hey, I am having issues in these areas, 1, 2, 3, 4. How can I address this? Right? And you actually need at this point to be frank about it. You need to be honest. It's not something you can hide.
That's right.
And the thing is, if it is you need help, you get help, right? Like I remember people were looking at people that they know who supposedly have decent jobs, right? Yet some of these people were still going for hampers and food hampers and stuff. And someone, and I actually shared the post, somebody broke down, even if somebody is making a salary over $8,000 a month, you don't know their responsibilities. So by the time they done pay rent or mortgage, car payments, bills, it's like that salary evaporated. So guess what? I now need money for food. So if it is that I can lose it, if the salary has decreased or it went from a 2-income home to 1 income, so people during this time are feeling it. And we have to understand it is not just you. One, we have to be considerate. So, but going back to the whole idea of having the impact list And why I like this because people need to be honest and face the issues that they are actually having during this time. If it is the want that the moment of getting over it, right? Because COVID is still going to be here for a while. To think pandemic is not going to happen just yet. All right, we know one of the pandemics in the world lasted 7 years. We are hoping this one doesn't. Right?
True.
But the truth is, it will be here for a while. I saw that UK, is it UK? Yeah, I think it's in the UK that they're going to actually lift most of their restrictions, right? And this is now going to force people to be collectively responsible, right? So I want to ask you guys this. Do you think, knowing our fellow Trinbagonian,
He's gonna ask it.
Do you guys think that we as a people are collectively responsible or can be collectively responsible in order, let's say, for the government to lessen certain restrictions?
I want to say yes. I really do. No. I want to. I am being honest. I want to say yes. We are collectively responsible and we can do what we can. I mean, in the very beginning of this pandemic, we were collectively responsible. Yes, it lasted 45 days, but at that time, we had zero new cases for quite a while. It was not even a curve, it was just a straight line.
Right.
And apparently, when people saw that, they said, let us reward ourselves. And things just went haywire, and we have not recovered as a society since. And people find it hard right now to listen to guidelines, even for curfew and thing. And you're thinking, okay, let's let people. I want to say yes, but I'm gonna have to go with no. I'm sorry, I no. I've been living in this country for quite a while now, and yeah, I will say no for now. Unfortunately, I honestly, for those who listen, I really do want to say yes. Please don't say I'm not a Trinidadian and I'm not patriotic or whatever. It's because I know we people. I really do want to say yes, but unfortunately it's a no. I let it out all my disclaimer one time. That's just me. I mean, you all could answer.
Well, this is what I'll say, right? Number one, if you take a look at the comment section when we have that
new media conference,
meeting,
yeah, I mean,
my
conference,
God.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the comment section, now my thing is this, right? Number one, our country is a beautiful melting pot of different types of people that's supposed to be living in harmony. When you watch those comment sections, you don't really see that all the time.
You don't.
That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Number two, my thing is this, right? It doesn't matter to me who's in power once things are being done for the country, right?
Agreed.
I honestly, in my song, so you might tell Mama, I honestly have a preference in terms of a party. I want to see my country being taken care of.
Yes. Correct.
So it doesn't
Totally
matter who's
agree.
in power to me. What matters is, number one, how they treat us, and then two, how we respond to them.
Correct.
Right? I have my own issues with the current government, yes. But if they're making guidelines for us to follow for COVID, right? Rather than say that ex-minister or ex-member of the government looking like a potong and like this and like that, just hush and follow the guidelines number.
Oh gosh, yes.
Instead of asking a question like, Prime Minister says that the construction industry is going to be open back up, and you say the food industry, the construction industry is dependent on the food and street food industry, so you should open the street vendors one time. I'm sitting there like, are we serious? Are we serious? You can't go to work and carry food? That to me, simple as it is to be individually responsible.
Yep. Yep.
I don't need to say, well, hey, you had to open back up the doors, man, and baby, because I do construction and I need to eat. Come on, man.
That's why groceries are open, man.
Cook corned beef and rice and carry it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, these are little things that show me that our country is not in a place where unified. We could take that step to say, together,
Right.
we could make this thing work. We're still so very segmented,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to politics and race, that people are refusing to get on the same page simply because they believe in one party against. And to me, I think that's the first step towards us fighting this thing together. Like,
Agreed.
putting aside who you believe should be in power and just thinking about where we could have ended up.
Yep.
Like, I mean, our country is not in a place where it could fight this virus if it goes into full pandemic mode here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
if we
yeah.
have those kind of,
Yeah.
if we have an outbreak, like a serious outbreak, it doesn't matter who's in power, problems.
Problems. Correct.
And as people are saying, doesn't matter. So let me do the best in what we have and work together. Like, I mean, I love the Farabee so much, like that Chris that you built that you're hoping that we could. But there needs to be some inner changes to our people
Right.
at first. I even talk about the partying factor yet because any little release and instructions, we're gonna have a friend. In some form or fashion, we're gonna have a small party.
Mhm.
That need
So I'm taking it as a no.
it's a no go.
It's- right. So my thing is, so even the new normal, we'll have a problem with because it's going against what was normal for the citizens,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was normal for the individual. So if it is their previous normal wasn't actually working. And I'm not judging anything. I'm saying not working based on the same frustrations and things that they didn't like about who in power and their own salary and their lifestyle.
Yeah.
The same problems that they would have had previously to the new normal that would have now been amplified during this time, the quote-unquote new normal that they're still against. No changes being made. Then we look at post, right? When we're supposed to have the pandemic boom, when things supposed to shift back to a more state of normalcy, even though it will not be normal. Normalcy will be in the terms of economic growth and seeing people back out of jobs and movement in the economy. That is what they will consider some normalcy. However, things would have changed. Technological advances would have happened. People would have had companies that had a lot of digital transformation. They may not take back a full workforce. These type of things that would affect us. Yet, people would still have the mindset from previous to the pandemic. Right? So how
True.
are we as citizens, as individuals, if we can't even be collectively to be responsible to keep the numbers down? Because once when we freed up, the little private parties happen, the little private whatever happened. I know people that were personally affected by people having private parties. The person who had the party died, you know, and then other family members got it and died as well, you know. So if that is the case, how are we going to address this after, when there's a quote unquote normalcy?
I think we should break that up into like segments because there's so much different parts of our life that it's been affected. So like if I was to say first of all like your work life, right? You would have mentioned just now that there may be changes in terms of the type of workforce required. You know what I mean? They may not be looking for the same physical workforce at the job. Some companies wouldn't change that, some companies will do it. We're not even sure if the WHO will release guidelines as to office setup. The distance apart for desks, and there are a lot of things to still happen.
Yeah, true.
You know, so I think for me, when it comes to work life, even though I'm not in the corporate world per se anymore, I still think that anybody currently looking at work life
Mm.
should look at two things. Number one, if you currently are able to maintain and keep your job, what will be required of you now, right? And then two, if you're not employed, what's your next step? So I think for both parties, reinventing yourself may be possibly maybe your best option.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Meaning, given, like you said, the new normal, which is going to be different from what you would have done for years, right? You can't be the person that say, I not about all them messaging and online thing now. You can't do that anymore. Go and
Right.
take a course, log on to Sandacorp, get a course, find something that will help you to
Find
get the new
something.
skills you need to adapt to this change. If you need to go and do there are so many different avenues to learn new things. Go on YouTube, find out how to use Zoom more effectively. Um, you know, like there are so many different little ways to change things up. Even rewriting your CV a little bit
Yeah.
to get new employment.
Yeah.
Highlighting that you are technologically savvy and you can do certain things. These are things that are going to help you in the new job market because it's not going to be the same,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be the same. And if you're not flexible in your work time, hours you can work, these things are all going to be affected. You know, they may need more part-time workers and full-time workers,
Correct.
right? Because they may shift around how they may want it to work. So we have to be able to adapt to that, you know?
Yeah. You brought up a good point there with respect to like prerequisites for work. So like I mean I've seen how the job market even has changed. 25 years ago, a person had to know a prerequisite for being able to work in the corporate world now is you had to know a little Word, a little Excel, a little PowerPoint
Yeah.
to be able to do
Right.
that. Now we reach a particular thing that you had to know Microsoft Teams, you had to know Zoom. These are prerequisites. Just even going now, based on how things are changing. Because recently I heard persons were asking questions about that in an interview. The person was getting trouble to connect and everything like that. Very qualified person in terms of MBA,
Academic,
doing the
yeah.
PhD and all this kind of thing like that. But
Academic background.
they took half an hour to connect to the interview, right?
Yep.
And they say, well, I'm not used to this technology thing. Suffice to say, it doesn't look hopeful for them in terms of them getting a job, no matter how qualified they are.
Yeah.
Because if this is what's happening and you are not able to adjust to this change now, it's going to be a big challenge if it is that you want to do another job or another opportunity in the corporate world. So the new norm is no longer just going to be a Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. It's being able to use the connectivity tools that are out there right now. The Google, not the Google Classroom, the Google what's the name of it? Google Meet and all of these things like that.
You don't have
Yeah.
any alarms.
All of these things like that you have to look at now. So all of these changes that are coming on here. One of the things that I just thought about as well too, and I mean we are talking about the changes and the new norms with respect to adults. What about children now? I mean that is something that we had to look at
Yeah.
carefully because I mean my son is 5, he's going on 6, and he doesn't have much of a connection with his children in his class. None of the children really have that connection. They connect with the teacher, but not with each other. And
Yeah.
that means if it is at this part, I mean, as the pandemic always going to look, as you rightfully say, is going to be a couple of years, homeschooling is going to be, it is a thing right now. I don't see that changing anytime soon. When everything becomes lifted, what kind of adjustment period are they going to be looking at in terms of when children are going back to school?
Yeah.
I could guarantee you see separation anxiety, that is going to be big with respect to children going back to sit in a classroom by themselves with no mommy and no daddy there, especially for those who you can say grew up a good few of the fundamental years of their life in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Correct.
So these are some changes that, yeah, and they're right. And right now parents need to be cognizant and start thinking a little further down in terms of what kind of conversations you need to have with the children right now, what can be done in the interim, because when if it is that we have to go to a more hybrid approach of children going to school and parent going to school, parent going home, or if it's going to be right through school, that adjustment is going to be jarring for children at a young age, and we need to be cognizant of that. You have children who are trying to go into preschool right now online still.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Social interaction issues in true, very true.
Exactly.
And there are parents that I know that would not even want to send their children back out. They're gonna switch back into only doing homeschooling, which is gonna create another dynamic when it comes to our education system here, right? We have to, deal with that, because we know the little gaps when it comes to registration for exams and separately and stuff like that.
But I think that opens up some doors as well, though. Like,
well, it does.
True. Factor.
It
opens up doors for those who, because I know other people who would have applied to be teachers, but that process in itself is so complex, takes so long sometimes that we have a lot of teachers that have the potential to just do homeschooling.
Yep.
And they may be very versed with the online technologies to teach online and that kind of thing. My advice is, if you are willing to pursue, if you've already passed the qualifications to become a teacher and you haven't gotten that employment yet, start building a portfolio for online education, right? It's going to be a big deal just now, like big deal.
It is. And what is going to happen as well, you'll find that students are going to feel, or at least children or in whatever level for exams, they are now going to niche down on the subjects they do. Instead of having to do 10, 15 subjects, you can now focus on getting stuff done. And you might find even some children doing exams earlier because they're prepared, right?
Yeah.
And moving through the system a little faster, which is a good thing. All right. And then what I was mentioning with the parents, the other side with the parents who cannot help their children with their schooling because of their own education levels.
Yeah.
So they need and want schools to open so that they can send their child to get the proper education where they can get that help and stuff in the actual school system. But what I do like is the fact that it showed us where there are so much people without the basic things at home. Children that didn't have laptops. Now, we could argue that some parents' priorities wasn't, focused.
Very
true. Yeah.
Who live in a certain life, yet their children do have certain items and then want the government and institution to give them a handout when it is they're wearing the $1,500 Jordan and whatnot. But anyhow, that's our next topic, right? Right. So the thing is, we will see so much shifts when it comes to education, but I do believe children do need that social interaction at a certain age, because it's very easy to become antisocial, the introversion tendencies. These type of things happen. We don't know what other type of psychological effects it may have, right? And parents aren't actually naturally trained for these situations. You might notice your child acting a certain way, but because you would have never had to, because they've been going to school, and whatever thing they would have vented and run around the room, run around the yard and get that stress out, that energy out, and you wouldn't have even known, right? The child come back home normal,
Right.
But now you actually have to deal with it. So you as a parent and a guardian now your skill set when it comes to taking care of a child in a pandemic changed completely. So we have a lot of layers when it comes to people living through this new normal. But I do think one main underlying, one main denominator through it all is that people's mindsets, people, as actually Ms. Smith-Simon mentioned, people's mindsets, people's priorities have to adjust. People need to pivot into what could actually benefit them more. She mentioned, the what? Discipline, tolerance, and production, right? I might be showing my age there, but anyhow. And I mean, we look at the things that happen. Trinidadians are very creative people. We do things like that when it comes to entertainment and being a little comical at times. We are creative,
Yeah.
and the thing is, if we put some of that energy towards being productive, listen,
Yeah.
Trinidad would be a force to be reckoned with,
Very true.
especially coming out of this pandemic where we see all the gaps and the issues that arrive, whether it was technology, whether it's in health, whether it's in education, whether it's in the banking system, whether it's in businesses, the new businesses that were created, people have found new skill sets. Listen,
Yeah.
we could be dangerous if we want to be, but people need to change the mindset. People need to adjust their priorities right
Yeah.
now.
That's right.
Yep.
And not study post-pandemic boom because, hey, borders open, I want to travel. It is more than that.
But Chris, it's scary when I look at the fact that some people are still naive to the ramifications of this COVID process, and yes, they may be thinking about the boom afterward, but I don't think you've really seen the darkest parts of this COVID situation yet. I'm not sure if you guys would have seen it. This popular restaurant would have actually closed its doors.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, these are restaurants that we would have, for years, would have been at the top of your restaurant week list and all these different things.
Correct.
And now they are fading into the night. And that's just one of many. And it's not a small time restaurant. There's a restaurant that was
Big.
a big name.
Yep.
Right? We are seeing there are many different stores, businesses that are going to be going under because they can't maintain rent payments, they can't hold on to staff, and it's going to happen bit by bit. And there are people that believe that it's not that bad, we could be alright, and they're not seeing the bigger picture of the things that are being really affected, like badly. When things begin to open back up now, and we get to go back out for a bit, because yes, it's going to be a gradual process of opening, right? We have the construction industry opening. We may have the food. Now, I personally think that food should be one of the later things to open because trees have no behavior when it comes to food, right? But as these things begin to open, we begin to see the businesses that didn't stand the test of time.
Yes.
The ones that really and truly couldn't make it because, like we were mentioned earlier in the conversation this year, there are businesses that were already going under. They were already struggling. You understand? And then the first closure hit, then the next, and it's like those are the times where whatever you had put aside to kind of keep you afloat, you had to keep dipping in, and now can't pay rent anymore, can't hold on to staff. And there are people out there who are saying that, and I saw Miss June Simon would have mentioned it as well. Companies that would have been making millions and not paying their staff. There are two sides to that coin. There are the companies that would have definitely been making enough to help their staff and make changes to keep their staff on board, even if at a reduced salary.
True.
But then there are the ones who would have just been selfish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And would
taking advantage.
have tried as much as possible to say, here what, we can't pay you all right now, but just hold on. Knowing fully well that they could have done something
Exactly.
to help their staff. And then
Correct.
they decided the other ones who should be at a point where they can't even make ends meet.
Yep.
Right? They can't even make light bill, water rate, nothing adding up. They're just trying to hold on themselves. And those are the one side that will go under first. And we'll begin to see those places closing. I'm scared to go into the mall when the mall open back up properly. Because the amount of white paper you're going to see on these stores.
Yeah.
Yo.
That used to be there and all this kind of thing. Yeah. You're going to find a lot of that.
Yo. Let him talk
Yes,
about that
sir.
because one of my favorite clothing stores closed down both branches. Trinity Mall and in South. So I'm like, yo.
Yeah, it's going to be a scary thing when we go back out to, if you're looking at the avenue, people are going to go back out expecting to see certain places that are not going to be there.
Not going to be there. It's not. It's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So
It's a fact.
but there's another side to actually that part of it where those who are now able to may be able to benefit by wanting to get into real estate and finding
Right.
a space for their businesses. I mean, it's a shame it had to happen this way, from somebody going out of business or property value drops or anything like that for somebody else to benefit. But that is just how it is. Those who have will be able to man up to
Yeah.
take advantage of the situation,
Correct.
right? But one thing we actually didn't look at as well, or what people aren't, well, I'm hoping people looking at this, our utilities like WASA, TNTech, they are under their own strain to continue certain payments. Because people aren't working, people's NIS contribution, maternity benefits and stuff gets thrown off,
Correct.
right? A lot of women, but yeah, so there are so many different areas where people are being affected, and we don't actually recognize or hear about it because it may not directly have anything to do with you in your life. But when you look at the value chain, right? When you look at the value chain and see, all right, so this company here that supplied this no longer, India, very, very good example. The millions of people that has died in India, right? India is known for like call centers and stuff like that. There have been businesses that lost call centers. They have lost
Call center.
that lost manufacturing companies because all the people died.
Yeah.
So now they have to source elsewhere. Their business get put on hold or under whatever strain. Certain things are now at a different price, so the cost of making the product now goes up, which is now transferred to you, the consumer. These are the things that happen.
And call centers, but also some of the professional services companies. So like you have some large conglomerates that originate from the US, but their technical people are in India. So like you'll have cases now where you're trying to get some of these professional services, even in Trinidad and Tobago, who have to outsource from India for some of these services. You can't get them now because of all of that is happening there. One of the things I was looking at as well too that we also need to pay attention to, and I'm glad that this person is online looking at us now, Aviana Drayton Bailey. She just to give a little, just a cat out of the bag, she's in ground zero when it comes to what's happening in right now with respect to COVID and everything. So again, shout out to the work that you are doing there. Thank you and the nurses for the service that you all have been doing for this country. Definitely in terms of that. Seriously, shout out there. I mean, one of the things that I even had a look at as well, even with the nurses and the new norm, what is that? What are the dynamics that are going to be in the hospital, the health sector? Because coming out from this heightened area of alertness into what's going on and all the things that are going on within there in terms of the healthcare, the changes that are happening on the floor itself, how our health sector, how our nursing staff, the doctors, how are they going to be adjusted as well to the new norm for them? It I believe is quite jarring even for them right now. Right?
A lot of doctors has resigned, right? There are a lot of doctors that no, they because the fact that they're not getting any benefits, they're not getting any, the salary, nothing has been affected. Everything's been affected for them with no change to benefit them.
True.
So there are doctors that are no longer, practicing.
Yeah.
Very true.
Right. And that is scary by itself.
Definitely. I saw Avian would have mentioned in terms of real estate and the lack of a decrease in cost. I know Chris would have mentioned before, like Trinidad is a very unique economy, right? Now, it has two things said, right? One, our black market, which is definitely true.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And number two is a false sense of value based on the prior energy booms, right? For years, Trinidad's prices for real estate in particular kept going up, right? And it was going up in a time where it was supposed to be dropping, right? It's unique in that a lot of countries would have gone through economic changes and would have dipped, increased, which would have allowed for for things like people to flip houses. Trinidad is not even a market where you can buy and flip a house.
No.
It definitely isn't, right? And it's because number one, during the economic boom, people were buying like crazy. People
Yep.
had cash flow, and they would have paid what was being asked,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
we would have called some exorbitant prices for properties. People would have paid it. The economy began changing. The price never changed, right?
No.
When it was supposed to drop, it increased. And it's because we have to understand as well, when it comes to the black market, we've all been taught this. Land doesn't rotten. Finitum, you'll always hear it. Land
Yep.
doesn't rotten. So land is a very much high investment item, right? It holds value in Trinidad. So a lot of people, no, I'll give you an insight into two things. Number one, a lot of people in that, we keep saying black market industry, right? Whether it be drugs, whether it be whatever else,
Yeah.
right? Number one, if you notice, a lot of the fellas who involved in drugs and selling this and different industries, one of the things they do, you see them with a lot of gold, right? Some people think it's just the flash and the show,
No, it's
but
not.
it's a hold of value,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
I can't
Correct.
keep this cash in the house, I can't put it in the bank. If I have a chain, a pendant, bangles, whatever, these things
Yep.
hold value.
Yes.
Likewise, property is the same. I've seen
Assets.
people, I've seen guys take off a chain, give it to somebody else as payment. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
real
seen
gold, yeah.
guys pay for a vehicle with jewelry. And likewise, property is the same. Where people have over the years held the high prices because people invested into real estate were doing it to hold money and hold
Yeah.
capital value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
For
right.
the average person who's looking for housing, that middle class
Yeah. Can't.
bracket,
Yeah.
we in a place where it's like a market that we can't exist in. You
Correct.
understand?
Hope your
Um,
parents have backyard to
What?
to build a house. And that,
Case
yeah.
in point,
Yeah.
some years ago, we went to Santa Rosa, there were houses being sold. $750,000 was the value at that time.
Mhm.
Right.
Those same houses are in the 1.6,
1.6. Yeah.
1.8,
Santa Rosa. Yeah.
2
Correct.
million bracket.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the house looks the exact same.
Same. Yeah.
If not in a worse condition, because the roof is still wood,
Mhm.
and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how is this property holding value? Right? So we have to understand that we live in a unique economy where the norm doesn't always apply. But what we should always pay attention to is the fact that we could do things to keep ourselves prepared for what may happen.
Correct. Correct.
Right?
Sorry, I get distracted by working vagrants. Wow. Oh my
Wait.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, right? You mentioned that, and I've dealt with clients that do that but they do it as well based on protecting their family wealth
Mhm.
and like wealth succession, so that if it is they
Yeah.
die, the government won't just get half. Like in China, a lot of people are more asset rich and cash poor, so they'll buy artwork, they buy properties overseas. They will,
Mhm.
they'll buy cars. So stuff that if it is they die, the government can't really take those things. Whatever cash there, the government takes 50%, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so they'll invest in things so that either children can now liquidate at some point, or if they migrate, etc., they'll have that and have the cash.
Right.
So that is something. But I
Yeah.
think some people do it here as well. But once
Yeah.
again, that is not something that is taught in school.
Good.
That is only, certain circles will know of this. If I know certain certain insurance agents would actually advise people how to, protect their wealth and actually grow it that way as well.
Mhm.
If I have to give one advice tip for people who are looking to get into real estate or looking to acquire properties as a form of holding wealth as well, I would advise crowdfunding, right? It's something that we don't necessarily practice in Trinidad. Some groups of people practice it very strongly,
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
they pool resources together to acquire property, acquire buildings, acquire whatever else. Don't be afraid. Excuse me. Don't be afraid to build a team and fund the purchase of. There's a lot of land, agricultural land, even land that has been approved for residential development that people are not even paying attention to,
Yeah.
right? That we can come together and make a purchase, hold the value, split it up, sell it over, go again, or develop the land ourselves and have something. It takes
Yeah.
trust, it takes unity, it takes discipline, tolerance, and production.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, that is what it's called. It takes trust as a real estate investment trust. All right. Some people will get some families I know that do it as well.
Yeah.
But once again, it comes back to a matter of trust, and is like, all right, so Alistair could put in 10,000, Mike could put in 5,000, I could put in 6. And instead of looking at it like that, you're studying, well, you don't know if Alistair will want to call a bigger slice. You don't know if Mike will toot feelings. Because, these kind of things is what happens, right? And that is why you have to actually know who you're partnering with when it goes into stuff like that. And of course, make sure you have an attorney present. Everything is
Of course.
documented
Legit,
and contracted properly, and nobody could take advantage of nothing, because we know how things go down with land here in this country, right? Just get right. But yes, so I mean, yeah. So great conversation tonight, guys. And I mean, we know there's so many layers to people existing right now within this quote unquote new normal, and we haven't even begun to see what will happen when regulations start to ease. The borders looking to open in a couple of weeks. All right, people trying to get vaccinated now so they could actually travel and stuff like that. Hey, I am all for it as long as people are collectively responsible. Let's be individually responsible, so it will be collectively responsible, right?
Yes.
Hey, listen.
No, did you hear the question that was asked by the Newsday representative in the last press conference when they said the borders are going to be open? He said, the beaches are closed.
The beaches, watch,
the bars and restaurants are closed. When the foreigners come, where to go? I was like...
So he not listening. He wasn't listening anyway. If you understand what he's saying, foreigners...
Brother!
Two things. I try not to read the comments. I try not to read the comments. And you see when media start to get the chance to ask questions, this is why I wonder if many of them go and do journalism or mass communications or anything, or have any sort of critical thinking or something to ask proper questions. Like, come on. Watch how they ask questions and interviews overseas with some of these other forums, and try to formulate certain things. But I don't think they do. They just
your source of original news cannot be social media.
But
I've heard people quote that already. In a news conference. Yeah, I saw on Facebook that. Come on.
Right.
We have a lot of work to do
next week. Well. Let's hope businesses start to reopen, because the economy needs to turn. One man's expense is another man's income. Right? That's basically how it works. And we do want people to stop feeling the vice grip that some people are feeling. The new normal, as we said, it does require some self-inspection. It does require us to look at our impact list, see where we are impacted the most and how we can address it. Whether it's right now, we're during the pandemic, you want to put yourself in a better position, so as things eases up, you will be in a better place, not just in your business life, but in your own personal development, in your family life, in your marriage. You want in the different areas, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, you want these elements to be a little more whole and definitely grown during this time.
Yeah.
Right. So any closing words, guys?
I think right now, those who still in the mindset of thinking, well, everything will just be back to the way it was when September reached and school opened, you need to get ahead of the cloud. People thought that last year. We're still in the pandemic. All right. again, for persons that I saw, Avian spoke about even nurses migrating. You know, these
Yep.
things like that are happening right now. It's
I
a
have a friend that left. Yes.
yeah, it's a thing right now where there's an exodus of people going out, and we have to understand that that is also, you're looking at a new norm in terms of that as well. I mean, in the 80s, that happened during that time when the country when Trinidad and Tobago was going through the recession period. There was an exodus as well too, in terms of people leaving the shores to go and work away, to send down barrel of stuff for the children and things. So
Correct.
you're seeing things happening full circle again, and
Yep.
we had to be able to. We can't tell people, "Oh, don't go away." This is what's happening right now. We're going to have
people are going to leave.
people are going to
As much
leave.
as people are going to come back, people are going to leave the same.
Exactly, and they, while there are opportunities here within Trinidad and Tobago, there are there are those who are going to be looking at opportunities elsewhere. We just have to deal with that. It's just like that. Honestly, it's like that, and nurses leaving in droves. It's as she just saying right there.
Yes, I'm telling you, I have a friend, she hightailed it to the UK. She is gone. You know, I knew of the doctors that were resigning through a colleague of mine. He said it's crazy. You know, and she has a right to be scared as well, because when things ease up and people start going out, we don't want to have that spike again, and then the healthcare system is back under it. Because I mean, nurses and doctors are on the front line. Hello, every day you get down and you're working 16 plus hours every single day. You know, I have partners whose wives are nurses, and you know, it's a weird feeling when they see how their wives keep away from them and the children, him and the children. You know, she comes home, stripped by the door, shower, and she literally still keeps a distance. She doesn't embrace the family like how she used to. You know, and it's not putting a strain where it's affecting the marriage, but it is a difference having to be in that situation as a nurse or a doctor and then go home to a family and you don't know if at any point you would have contracted it and took it home. So it's a weird feeling, you know, that the variant is worse than it. Okay, I feel we may need to do an episode and bring on Miss Drayton Bailey, but we will discuss that. No, because I think there is some conversations, no pun intended, that need
I
to
think
be
it would be
had.
great. It would be good to get some nurses on, and
Yeah.
if we get a doctor as well to kind of give different perspectives, because different sectors or different I would say different locations will have a different experience, like from what I realize.
Of course.
Right? And I mean I really want to commend all the nurses that are holding on and are you know
Today,
in this fight, because you know we've been seeing how much we need to have that personal responsibility and collective responsibility, but we had also consider what we're doing to them at
yes,
the same time.
Correct.
You know, the danger we're putting them into and their families and their career, and it's so much. Like I have a friend myself that is in that field, and it's just hearing her fear about this whole situation makes me realize how real it is.
It
You
is.
know, and we need to if we are really and truly collectively responsible, we'll take into consideration what we are putting them through as well. And not just say, I wanna party, I wanna fret.
No.
We gotta think about what could happen to the masses, these people that are
exactly.
putting their lives on the line for us every single day.
Yes,
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
and yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Chris.
Just I was gonna say, I said in a previous episode of the conversation that I hope that the government or governments are trying to put certain things in place for therapy and different type of psychological assistance or help. You know, whether it's, I mean, yes, government, public service at EAP, right? I think social development probably have programs that people could attend, but people that on the front line, like
Yes,
doctors and nurses, people who work in, who dealing with the morgue and seeing people coming in by droves, and you know, what is set up for them so that they could get this off?
and
You
not know.
seeing
Yeah,
death every day and stuff like that is not. You know, we need to have something in place for people that are dealing with the anxiety, with the depression, and those that are literally in its face every day. We need that. We definitely need that.
Definitely. So,
Yeah.
Nurse Bailey, a pioneer here, call me. We want you on the program. I always telling you that. Call me. We need to have the conversation here. People need to know. Alright? So,
Agreed.
message me, message us. You could go ahead. Feel free to do that. We really need to hear from you. We really need to really hear firsthand what's happening. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, another great evening, folks. We want to thank everyone that listens. Just one sec. Has a number of different mental tools. Okay. That's great. That's great. I'm glad that they actually have programs for the staff. That's good to hear.
And we got answer.
Awesome. Yep. All right, folks. Well, that's it for the conversation tonight. As always, we want to encourage everyone. Please continue to practice social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands, and be sure to join us again here next week for another great episode of the conversation.
All right. And
don't see a night.
Same to you, man. And all don't forget, for all those who are on YouTube, we are on YouTube as well too. Go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. You could go ahead and pass the link to persons who are not on Facebook as well. They can connect. All right. So again, thank you all for that. Mike, any last words?
Be safe, people.
Yes.
Be safe.
Please.
Yep.
And see you on Tuesday.